A hearty, healthy heart is pretty important. You can do the hard stuff like eating right, exercising, walking, resting, detoxing, or you can do it the easy way. You can go for a heart transplant operation. So today we're going to be taking a look at the dark side of heart health. What happens when you need to have surgery right after this. Welcome, everybody. This is the Life Enthusiast online video streaming and podcast network. Martin doesn't like radio and TV, so I'm trying to come up with a new one. And I'm your host, Scott Patton. He is your other host, health coach, Martin Patella. Martin, how are you doing today?
I am actually good. I'm fine. I am just recovering from a power outage we had last night. A tree fell on a power line pushed by wind, and the power went out, and the entire neighborhood went quiet. Essentially, we had a heart attack. We went silent.
We went silent. Awesome. And welcome to everybody joining us. George, good to see you. Kevin, thank you for joining us. We've got the drum roll going. George says, great topic. Before I forget, right after this, we head over to Telegram, t.me/life and co. Join us there where we are uncensored and we delve into these issues with a little more depth. Don't forget to like, subscribe. That's one great way that you can support us. So with that, Martin, I'm a list guy. I have a list of things.
Okay.
And the
before you jump to that topic, I really want users here to comment to us whether they are willing to go and do the hard thing and go to Telegram, where they can hear us really full on and have an interactive with us there, because it requires a bit of change. It requires you to actually do something that you're not doing right now. You're listening to us on this channel, but on the other channel, we're better. So I want to hear from you. Yes, I'm willing to go there, and you would need to download the app and put it on your phone or whatever you do.
And it's pretty much automatic when you click the link. It'll tell you what to do.
It's easy. Or you need to tell us, no way, Jose, we are not doing it. We're staying the way we are. I'm not leaving this platform, no matter how enticing it is what you're telling me. Scott.
Oh, all right. Okay. So here's the situation, folks. You can look after it's like the mechanic says, you can pay me now or you can pay me later. Don't want to have an oil change. Don't want to have your brake fluids checked. Don't want to have new tires. No worries. When you have a crash, I'll be quite happy to fix your car then. And it's kind of the same with us. Like there's a lot of things that we eat, drink, and do that are negative, that have a negative impact on our heart. So you can do the good things and live long, happy life. Both of us have really good tickers, and we're in our past 65 by a certain number of years.
We're old people, Scott.
Old people. And, I see a lot of old people, and it's just like, it's awful. Like, you don't want to be unhealthy when you're old. And so many people end up in homes. So
tell you something. I went for a haircut. And the gal at the end says, well, it'll be X dollars. And I point at the board and I says, don't I get the senior rate? And she says, you don't look senior.
Right.
So she looks at her colleague and says, how long do you think he is? How old do you think he is? He says, 50 something. So I pulled out my driver's license. I said, see, 70 something.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference when you're vibrant and healthy in your senior years. When you're young, you can get away with lots of things, but eventually the piper has to be paid. So Our whole theme here is you can do the right things. You can take an hour and go for a walk. You can get some exercise. You can eat stuff that is good for you instead of junk, or you can go and take 3 months, go to a hospital and get your heart worked on. And so that's what we're going to do, is talk about, heart surgeries, how long they take, and all that sort of good stuff. So, Martin, why do people need heart surgery?
Well, the Western medicine is really, really good at dealing with emergency situations. So you need it when you are really broken. It's either hardening or the clogging of the arteries. The arteries, of course, your heart beats 1 time per second if you're sitting, twice per second if you're running, 3 times per second if you're having an orgasm. So,
We need more orgasms.
well, anyway, you can expect about 100,000 beats a day. And imagine the heart muscle rests between beats. It does not, I can rest up my walking muscles. I can run for a while and my legs get tired. And then I'll put the feet up and I'll allow the lactic acid to drain out and all of that. In your heart, it's resting between muscles, between heartbeats. So that's one. Two, it's the diet that causes food too hot, metabolically too hot, which means starch converts into glucose, converts into triglyceride, converts into damage within the cardiovascular system. So if you are eating too much refined flour, refined sugar, and plant seed oils, you are asking for trouble. So over time, you will create. Now, the sign of that is cholesterol. High cholesterol is associated with this damage. The cholesterol is not the problem. The cholesterol is like the siren on the fire truck. They didn't start the fire. They're coming to put it out. And the doctors are measuring the noise from the fire trucks. And they're telling you, we need to put the noise out. And they're telling you to lower your cholesterol. It's totally dunderheaded, silly beyond silly. The stupidest drug you can take is something to lower your cholesterol, because that's not the problem. They didn't start the fire.
Yeah. Like George says, a patch in the vein.
So now, if you are now so damaged, so clogged, they can actually visualize it. They inject you with some kind of a dye and then see on a living, beating heart where the blood is or isn't going. And so the ideas that they come up with is we need to get the blood to the situation. Oh yeah, the other problem, I should say. The other problem is the hardening of the arteries. Every blood vessel is supposed to have this ability to expand and contract. It's a smooth muscle, and it's supposed to be tightening in a wave. And so as the blood travels, it goes like this. I'm having a hard time, but it's sort of like a snake swallowing a mouse. And the mouse is traveling through the snake. And that's the volume of blood expelled by the heartbeat. By the way, each heartbeat is about 100 milliliters. So that's about 3.5 ounces of fluid. Okay. Less than a wine glass, each beat. Right. Anyway, so this goes into the aorta and out through the branches and all of that. But it's not all pushed by the heart. It's not like it is a pump, but it's not the only member of this. Like when you pump
like water in the city, right? You have the water plant.
It's a gravity flow that's stiff.
Yeah. But also you'll have places where you need to have pumps to push it up over a hill or get it where it needs to go, right?
Yeah, but in this case, the pipe is alive.
Pumping it.
The pipe itself is a living pipe, and it's pushing it along. So if it's hardening, which means stiffening, which means calcification, which means fibrosis. All of that makes the blood pressure rise. The response to the stiff hose is that you need to raise the pressure to get it to the end.
Right. And that's why you have high blood pressure.
Right. So the pill that lowers your high blood pressure to normal is, again, a solution that turns off the consequence, but it's not doing anything with the problem. They didn't start the high blood pressure. That got started by the stiffening and hardening of the arteries.
So what
All
you
right.
need is to soften the arteries so they can work properly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you need to introduce more NO, nitric oxide, because that's the signaling molecule for expansion and flexibility for the cardiovascular system. And that is driven through the carbon dioxide mechanism. So you actually need to be able to breathe more and have proper mineralization and have healthy foods in the body. So let's go back to the beginning. So you're on a surgical watch because they think they may need to put something in your arteries. And they have two solutions: bypasses and stents. A stent is sort of like a sock that you put inside of a vessel that holds it open so it doesn't tighten. Artificial. You're just inflating it or stiffening it through from the inside. And the bypass, that's when you give up altogether on that blood vessel and you go in the leg and you steal some vessels from your leg and then you bring them into the heart and you cut the bad one. Well, you don't cut the bad. Yeah, you cut into the bad one and you bypass it. Like you just, and I have triple, quadruple, quintuple bypass. That means that what they're doing is they're seeing that there is not enough blood supply in certain areas of your heart, and they're routing blood from a bigger vessel through some smaller vessels into there so that the blood supply is renewed because your existing blood supply is failing. Right. And well, we know the silliness is the problem. It's not dealing with the cause. Right. So if you miss these warning signs, you may end up with an electric event that's going to, it's called fibrillation. If you have atrial fibrillation, that's the top side of the heart, the smaller chambers, and you have ventricular fibrillation, that's the bottom part of the heart. Well, the top part, if it's out of rhythm with the bottom part, it just feels really fluttery in the chest, running weird. And AFib, atrial fibrillation, is something that nobody enjoys, but it can be reset. Right. A VFib, ventricular fibrillation, is known as heart attack. When that happens, you may have the first warning is a heart attack bad enough that you don't survive it. Poof. Just like
that. You don't usually get much of a warning, do you?
Nope.
So Kevin has a nice comment. Thank you, Kevin. I really like NO, nitric oxide, for some 50 years, despite the sometimes negative news over the years.
Right, indeed. Yeah, it's important. And when you take supplements that improve your nitric oxide availability, you do well. Should I talk about what that is?
Yeah, let's jump into that just for a minute. 2
amino acids, citrulline and arginine. So you can go at it using free-form aminos, citrulline and arginine. That's sort of like taking a hammer to it. The other way is to go with some plants, which we sell something called Eclonia cava. Eclonia is a brown algae, brown seaweed, grows in the near Korea, on the west side of Korea. So if you're worried about Japan, don't be worried. That's on the east side of Korea, and that flows toward America. So this stuff is grown in the clean waters, unaffected by the effluent coming out of the what was it called? 2011, the nuclear disaster in Fukushima. That's the word. Anyway, so more Eclonia will get you a really happy outcome. We sell it as Eclonia cava by itself, or in a product called Algaran, or in our product called Aura Fit and Aura Max. Anyway, that's the story there.
So let's talk a little bit about the types of heart surgery. So coronary artery bypass grafting. That sounds...
Grafting. Yes.
Grafting.
Yeah, well, that's what I just described a moment ago. You
Right.
go steal some blood vessels from other parts of the body, and you pray that those vessels are not clogged or hardened. So it works reasonably for the hardening, because the heart is usually more tired than your leg. But anyway,
Right.
you replace it.
And then we have heart valve surgery.
Yeah, okay. So in the heart, we have the top chambers, bottom chambers, atrial and ventricular. And there is these valves that are opening. It's sort of like an aperture on a camera. Open, close, open, close. And so if that stuff is calcified, you need to figure out some way to repair it. By the way, the antidote to calcification is magnesium. So if you start on supplementing magnesium 20 years earlier, you will be in a better shape, because you will not have calcification of the valves. And you won't have to have it replaced with a valve that's been stolen from a pig, or a mechanical valve that's not all that great. It just, by the way, all of these measures are just such crutches. You're not walking regular, you're walking on a crutch. When you fix the heart, you don't fix it really well. It's this as good as new, not going to happen.
Although you probably feel better than you felt before you had the surgery, which is what they sell.
Oh yeah, absolutely, you will feel better. Except not for a while.
Right.
You know, when they crack you open like a chicken down here, or if they spread you through the ribs, either way, it's a lot of assault. It's a massive injury done to your body that you have to recover from.
Yeah.
It's a wound similar to battles.
Yeah, the battlefields. And we're going to be talking about how long some of these take, just to give you an idea, because it's a cost benefit analysis, right? If I can spend an hour today and be healthy for the rest of my life, or I can just continue to abuse myself, and then I got to spend, a couple of years recovering. That's what people need to be thinking about. But you had mentioned some mechanical things, and so let's talk about pacemakers and defibrillators.
Right. Well, so defibrillator is the paddles. They charge them up to fairly high voltage, not a high current, but high voltage, and they put them on your chest and say, "Clear," and then they go, "Bam!"
So they're going to stick that in your body.
So we're going to put a minor affair of that sort in here, so that if it should notice, there's a system that will notice that your heart is not beating, right? If it goes quiet, the defibrillator will notice and fire itself up, shock you back up.
Kenny just sent a comment, just had a stress test waiting for the results. So Kenny, if you haven't seen our last two live streams, and it should be wherever you're watching this, we're talking a lot about how to fix, or not to fix, but how to have a healthy heart. And so if your heart passes a stress test and you're not about to go into surgery tomorrow, or when you get the results, then seriously consider taking a look at your lifestyle choices and your food choices, and see what you can do to.
Yeah, one thing you don't know, I know Kenny. Kenny is an awesome guy. He's a musician, and he has been buying the Exula Heart Studies formula for some time.
Yay! Well, now we want to know what the results were, Kenny.
Yeah,
that's a great test. That will That will be a great testimonial. I'm 100% confident.
And it's this thing, right? Like the heart formula is not the cheapest thing in the world. And if you're making a living as a musician, you have, it's not the easiest path to follow. And unless of course you want to, oh, look at that. And the normal would be what, Kenny? I don't know. I don't read the numbers, but it's the calcium and magnesium balance. And if you're not supplementing enough magnesium, you will end up with high calcium. That's definitely an issue for many people.
Yeah. And all right. So we were talking about pacemakers or defibrillators, not pacemakers. So,
so the pacemaker, of course, that's a defibrillator that's on all the time. It does not wait for you to go quiet and hit you. It hits you with a much smaller voltage, but all the time. It actually drives the beat. Poop, 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 poop. But these pacemakers are not intelligent. They beat on a steady beat. I don't think they have computer control, and I don't think that they have the AI that says this guy is running, let's put the rate up.
Right.
Maybe that's coming. Maybe they'll come up with intelligent pacemakers, but for right now, it's a one rate. And here's the biggest thing. One of the signs of health is heart rate variability, HRV. You get to measure that with all kinds of gadgets, an Apple Watch or an Oura Ring or any one of many. The best one, of course, is the chest strap. But anyway, HRV should be measured, and it's the variability. So it's the opposite of playing on the beat. It's, if you have a metronome, the metronome hits the beat always equidistant on the timeline.
Right.
That's not a good thing for us humans. The more variability we have, the sign of health is within us. The heart should be always evaluating when it's time to beat the next time. It should be very responsive to all the stuff that's going on around us, from one beat to the next. So this heart rate variability is a witness to our ability to be very flexible, and it's a sign of health.
Cool. All right. The next one on my list is congenital heart defect surgery. So treating heart defects that are present.
Yeah. Well, if you're born with it, there's not much we can do with it. It's thank God for these successful surgeons who are able to reach inside our babies and fix them.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're not like anti-medicine or anti-surgery or anything like that. We're just like, do it when it's a real emergency, not when it's something that's been 30 years of a bad lifestyle.
And again, I'm not against any of what we're describing. I would just like to advertise for not getting that. I would advertise for the, how we talked about the fire engine. If you never start the fire, you'll never have to be calling the 911.
Yeah.
When you're calling the 911, you have failed. You know how earlier today I was asking you if you would be willing to change some of your habits and get on Telegram? Well, would you be willing to change some of your habits and get on the heart healthy life? Yeah. That's how you not end up with a heart attack or not end up with open heart surgery.
Such as the next one on my list, which is heart transplants.
Well, that's when it's ultimately all over, done. There have been partial transplants and full transplants. Like they have left a piece of the heart and just replaced some of the walls, or they have just cut the whole thing out. I can't imagine the complexity of it. There are all these valves coming in and circuits and nerves and unbelievable. Anyway, once you have had your transplant, you'll be on rejection drugs, which is immunosuppressant for the rest of your life. So you will no longer be able to allow yourself to get an infection from somebody else because your immune system is down multiple notches. So it's not, it saves your life. You have an extension on your life, but it's not a beautiful thing.
No. So let's talk a little bit about recovery, because I don't have time is probably the number one excuse for why people don't take care of their health.
Yeah, you do have time, you just don't take time. It's a priorities management. Yeah, that's for sure. Well, pay me now or pay me later.
That's right. And if you go to if you have a coronary bypass graft, you're in the hospital 5 to 7 days. Same with heart valve. Pacemaker is 1 to 2 days. Heart transplant is 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So they're going to be monitoring you closely and all the rest of it. Then you're going to have 6 weeks at home where you'll have rest and gradual movement. So there's 6 weeks where you're doing nothing right there.
Well, just shuffling around, because you should not stress yourself.
That's right. Avoid lifting heavy objects, which is greater than 10 pounds.
This is 5 pounds, okay? So don't try to lift both of them at the same time.
Right. And follow a heart-healthy diet. So you can wait until everything is a catastrophe, and then they're going to say, here's a heart-healthy diet.
Actually, Scott, I am quite sure that they are so messed up about that.
Yeah.
Dean Cornish, may he rot in hell, came up with this idea that low fat was the answer. And back when, everybody was supposed to be a vegetarian on low fat diet, that concept is the cause of thousands of premature deaths, millions probably.
Yeah. So you can do something about your diet now, or they're going to tell you to do something about it afterwards, and then it's too late. And then your cardiac rehabilitation is 6 to 12 weeks or longer, where they're going to supervise light physical activity, exercise sessions. So you're going to be forced to exercise. Of course, by this point, you've lost a lot of muscle mass.
And your ability to exercise. Yeah.
And your ability to exercise.
Let me say something really strong, which is this. If you go for a blood test and they tell you that you have a high level of cholesterol, that is a witness to the fact that your diet is mismatched with your genetics. I went vegetarian and then had a blood test, and I had off the chart high cholesterol because I was a stupid vegetarian eating a lot of bread and potato and rice. That's how I got high cholesterol.
So you don't have to have high cholesterol. You can do something when it's early on in the whole situation. Right. Then the last is a long-term recovery and lifestyle changes. So we're going to force you to change your lifestyle the easy way or the hard way, right? Yeah. And within 3 months, they usually resume somewhat normal activities, but cardio rehab continues for 6 months to a year. And again, they focus on heart-healthy habits, exercise, stress management, diet. And it's just like too late. And then you have regular follow-ups with a cardiologist.
Yeah. So the medical expense, Scott, the medical expense goes through the time you lose, the work time you lose, the ability to enjoy life you lose, and all of that. That just goes a long, long way.
So say a couple words about the health studies formula. Like we just got a few minutes left.
Well, the heart studies formula is constructed based on a lot of heart studies and deals with all of the issues. Clogging and hardening of the arteries, the stress, the oxidative stress, the aging stress, all of that. All of that is put into the formula. It's an adjunct to good diet. It does not replace good diet. So if you want to fix your heart, you go with the heart studies formula, but you need to have it with one other product like the Iridessa or 50 or Oramax or something like that. You want to mix it, food and heart formula. This is the metabolic repair tool.
Right.
And we're out of time.
And we're out of time. Yep. So thank you for joining us, everybody. Head over to t.me/life&co. It's in the comments. And if you're watching this late and we're no longer live, the video's still there waiting for you. And it's really important that you get over there and check it out. And
And
also,
the fun part there is we answer live questions live.
yeah.
So,
All right. See you next week, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Bye for now.